Hey guys, it's Leanna with FlyerMiler again, and today what I wanted to do was kind of take a few steps back with FlyerMiler and show you the very basics of how to use it. Not only am I going to show you just the very simplicity how-tos with it, but then I'm going to go into a little bit more detail of how you can really utilize FlyerMiler to know how to get the most for your flights with points with travel hacking, or if just frequent flyer miler programs in general. You don't need to be a travel hacker in order to have points, but if you have points, you'll want to know how to get the most of them, which is exactly what FlyerMiler can do. So I'm going to just hop right into it and go over kind of the basics of the page. So you already saw I'm here at FlyerMiler.com. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring me up to the main page. And I'm going to start over here with the from and to. And as you see, throughout the page, there are question marks. And so if you aren't sure what whatever you're looking at is or does, just hover over. And I mean, obviously this one, it's pretty self-explanatory, from and to. Obviously you're going to put in your origin and destination, but down here, maybe you don't know why this is saying awards or routes. So if you just hover over, it tells you exactly what that particular part of the tool is going to do. So that's that section right over here. If we go over to the search options, some people want to just look for economy prices. Like for example, when my husband and I travel, we like to get the most out of our points, which means we stretch them out as much as possible, which means we often fly economy. However, there are many travel hackers who love to fly in just business or first class. So if you know that you're just going to search for that, then take off the other options. That will filter it down for you so that you have the best options for your searches. All right, so but I'm going to keep all those up just because for when I like to search, sometimes I like to look at all my options because you never know if maybe a business class ticket is actually not that much more than economy. And so I like to just keep them all up when I do this. All right, so moving on down here, right now we're on the intro tab, which actually just kind of tells you exactly how to use FlyerMiler, but I know some people don't actually stop and read that. So that's okay. And then over here on the right lower hand corner is a little notes section. And as you can see, it's going to tell you a lot of specific notes. And I'm going to show you an example in a second here. But for example, if you don't know what website to look for availability on, it's going to tell you exactly where to do that. If you don't know if there's going to be fuel surcharges, it's going to tell you that. Now, it's not going to tell you the exact taxes and fees and fuel surcharges, simply because that's stuff that changes so frequently that there's just really no way for us to input that data. So unfortunately, also a little note about the availability search. There's no way for us to include actually searching for availability right now, which is a bummer, but the airlines really keep that data under lock and key. So but what we do is tell you exactly what websites to look for to get the best availability search. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to go ahead and show you a real quick demo of how you can use FlyerMiler. So I always like to use my hometown, Omaha, and so if you want to, you can just type in the airport or the city. So in this case, I just typed in Omaha and I look for the correct airport. Or if you know the name of the airport code that you're going to, you can type that in as well. So we actually live in Germany right now. So I'm going to type in MUC, which is the Munich code. So if I know the code, I can just type that in real quick as well. Okay, so that is going to bring me up with an automated list of award charts. So I want you to come down here to the bottom and look at what all it pulled up. And you can filter this out several different ways. So maybe you know exactly what award chart or airline or award program you have points in. So you might want to filter it that way. So if I know that I have United, I can just go ahead and do an alphabetical order and just go straight on down to United. Alternatively, the same thing with award chart, you can sort it ascending, etc. If you look over at the other columns, this is really the zones. Some people look into that information. Other people skip that. And then, of course, the cost. This is in points, and it is one way, because a lot of times travel hacking, it's better to go ahead and just do one-way flights. Now, that's not always the case, but that we include one way so that people who like to do that route can go ahead and piece it together. And then, of course, the class. And like I said, you could filter those out. And then it's going to tell you if there's actually a route or a service for that. And then notes on the cheapest route, which is one of my favorite parts. So, like I said, I'm going to do just an example. And if I have United, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to click on the United line. There's several lines. Just pick the one that applies most to you or is the most up to date. And so for this case, I'm going to click United. So right now, I'm not really going to care much about the other parts of this line except for maybe the cost. I'm going to keep the cost in mind. I'm going to click on that line, and then I'm going to click on routes. So what this is now doing is it's showing me all the different routes, including partners and alliances that I can actually use my United miles, 30,000 United miles to fly from the US to Europe. So if I look, it's going to tell me how many legs of the flight I can fly on. So for example, this very first one would be Omaha to Chicago, and then straight from Chicago to Munich. This next one, again, it's using United miles, but the first leg is flying on United. The second leg is actually flying on Lufthansa. So what that does is, let's say I wanted to fly this first option, but there was no availability on the Chicago to Munich leg. I could actually use my United miles, as most travel hackers know, to fly on Lufthansa and look for availability there. Maybe there's availability on that flight, and so I can still go for just 2 legs to get me to my destination. So you can see there are so many different route options. So maybe the first route option, there was no availability. So maybe I try something like really weird, like Omaha to Newark, and then Newark to Munich. I guess that's really not that weird. So, but like, for example, this one, it takes you to Chicago and then to Boston and then Boston to Munich. That's a lot of legs, but hey, for a free flight, you do what you can. So like I said, you're going to click on whatever line looks best to you, and then you're going to look over at the details. So it tells you that this is zone-based, not mileage-based. It tells you that there are no fuel charges for this particular route. It tells you that you can use star points or ultimate rewards. And then when you go to look for availability, not book it, but look for availability, that you can search. The best one would most likely be United or Lufthansa. If you're flying on Lufthansa, you're still probably going to look at United. So it's going to show you exactly what to do and how to book your tickets. And so that was a really quick demo. I flew through that, and I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in some of my other videos about specific ways to really maximize your points using FlyerMiler, but this was at least a little something to get you started, to know how to get the best usage of your miles. If you have any questions, leave a comment for me, or send us a message. And we're always looking for ways to improve the tool. So if you have something that you think would be cool to put on there or something, just give a shout, and we'll be in touch.